Well, hey, Dad.
Hey, Sam, and hey, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Carolina Retirement Planners Happy Half Hour. This is actually the pregame show. We go live in about 3 minutes, but we always kind of start early because of the way the timing works. So you get to watch us banter about, and I'm going to take this few minutes ahead of time to talk about something important. We're going to have a giveaway. I've got about a dozen of these books. We'll talk about it when we actually later on in the show, if you will, in our and how you can get this for your grandkids to teach them to be good savers. It's going to be a great thing to have. It's been a good hot week. I mean, as we record this, there's also a recording. We're recording it the very last week of July, and man, it has been 90 plus degrees every day and humid. But I guess you got to have the hot weather now in order to have the nice weather in January, right? So
Absolutely. Absolutely. How was your week, Dad?
my week was good. I was kind of busy. We're doing all kinds of things. We're working on a new website. We're working on rogo.com, which is a website with just our teaching website. We're going to get it made up a little fancier and a little more user friendly and sexy, if you will. And I think I just recorded one just recently for that on RMDs. There's some really fun stories about RMDs you wouldn't believe, but we can participate in that as well. So, how are we doing for time? Almost there.
1 minute.
Almost there.
And we've got some people who've already joined us. Hey, Brad and Miranda and Cindy, welcome. I think all of y'all have been here before, so thank you so much for coming
And
on back.
Rick, it is good to see you here as well. It is good
Rick
to
was
see
one of
you.
our wine winners.
Oh, yes, he is.
Yeah.
He is, as you know, during this, if you submit a question, you refer us to someone or you open a watch party, you'll be able to win some wine. I think, let's see, or no, we're still at 4:29. We still have seconds to go here.
The anticipation is killing me.
Yes. How was your week, Sam?
My week was great. I got a lot done around the house as always, I guess, these days. But I can't complain, Dad. Nadine, hey, and Bob, hey, how y'all doing? All right, 4:30.
4:30 is time to start. Welcome, everyone. This is Carolina Retirement Planners Happy Half Hour, our weekly little get together with folks where we have some fun and talk about something to kind of make you a little smarter. And what are you drinking today, Sam? What is it? It's Happy Half Hour because you can get the drink of your choice on a Thursday at 4:30. We're about ready and enjoy. So what are you drinking?
I am drinking the Wave Break IPA. And this is actually, I know that my husband just started working out at Waterline, who's awesome. But this is another local brewery, Bill's Brewing. They were Bill's front porch. And it's really nice. And it's nice to be able to nice to have such a robust local brewery.
And for those of you who don't know, Waterline is a brewery. It's under the bridge here in Wilmington. And it's great having a son-in-law who's a brewer, I'll tell you. It doesn't get better than that. And I am drinking, as usual, though it doesn't look like it, this is my herbal tea. This is actually, I kind of composed this myself. It's a mixture of peppermint, hibiscus, which is what gives it the color, but also hibiscus is good for you. It's got rose hips and a little sweetness from a thing called Blue-Eyed Blend, and I get it from McNulty's in Manhattan. I used to buy those of you who've been to our office know we have all the fancy teas from mostly from McNulty's. We have the blend that Katharine Hepburn, they used to blend Katharine Hepburn's tea. And I used to buy the components there, but now I can send them the recipe and they'll mix me up a pound in their little mixer. So I don't even have to do it at home. So this is cheers.
So now cheers. Cheers, everybody that's joining us. So now you've reached a Katharine Hepburn status as far as McNulty's is concerned.
That's right. And I think we give people occasionally bags of tea that are tea lovers. We've given a lot of Katharine Hepburn's tea away, and my own favorite, Nilgiri. So
absolutely. And we have some more people who joined us. And just for those of you who haven't been here before, we can't tell you're here unless you say something. So if you drop a comment, what you're drinking today, saying hi, any questions, we'll be able to know that you're here. So
I see James, Sam, and Dave, James, Charlene, Jean,
Lisa. Lisa's another one of our wine winners.
Yeah, Patrick.
And
I think Rick and Marcy are here.
Yeah, and Dan and Barb.
Dan and Barb up in the mountains where I talked to them this week. It's still hot. It's still hot up there. So it's good.
Well, I'm so glad that y'all are here. And another thing, we had mentioned before we officially started that each week we do a wine drawing, and to enter the raffle, all you have to do is sometime during the week, send us a question, a potential topic for the future, or you can refer our happy half hour to a friend. And we work on the honor system here. Just let us know and we'll enter you in. You can also,
this is even better. You can do it right now. Go down below where it says share, click share, and then it'll say watch party. Click watch party. And what that does is it sends it out to your friends saying, hey, I'm watching this thing. They can click and join us as well. And if you do that, send us an email and we'll put you in next week's drawing. We won't be able to see your comments, what you're in the watch party. Your friends will, though. So you can make fun of us if you want, because we won't know,
Absolutely. Awesome. And I do want to say that if you refer a friend and ask a question, you will get entered twice. So I have several people who have their names in my hat twice. Hey, Dick and Mary. Dick, he's drinking a Fumé Blanc right now. So we're real glad that you're all
Sam, this week, what is our topic this week? Oh, by the way, I mentioned it earlier, we're going to have a giveaway we're going to talk about a little bit later, something you can get for your grandkids. But what's our topic this week?
Well, as we mentioned, we're bombarding you with sending us questions, sending us topics, and we actually keep each of those archived. And as I've been looking through them each week, I'm noticing a trend. And the trend is that y'all are really concerned about the next generation, your kids, your grandkids, and you want to see them have a good life. You want to see them happy, fulfilled, prosperous, and you want them to be able to enjoy the kind of retirement that you have, or you're about to have, hopefully. Now, so that's what we're going to talk about today is, looking at the future, looking at the next generation, and
some of the key things you can do to pass on not only the money, but the wisdom.
Well, Dad, you skipped over my next point, but there's two ways that you can help. The first one's financially, the money. You can be putting your assets to work for them. And the second, how the saying, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, but teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a year, his lifetime. Well, I'm sure that I know that your kids and grandkids are going to be very appreciative of any fish that you give them, any financial fish, but you can also be giving them knowledge and guidance, helping them and empowering them to build the tools and the habits that they need so they can create their own solid financial futures. So when we look at passing on assets to your kids and grandchildren, there's a few ways. So you want to gift while you're still here, while you're still around to see it. The first way is utilizing the annual gifting limit. The IRS will let you gift as many people as you want, $15,000 a year without having to do any additional paperwork or pay any gift tax.
What happens if you want to give more than 15,000?
Well, if you want to give more than 15,000, there are ways to do that as well. So For example, say your kid, and this has happened, we've had clients come to us with this very same question. Your kid wants to buy a house and they need about $60,000 for a down payment. Now, you can gift 15,000. Your spouse can gift 15,000 to your kid, but you can also gift 15,000 to their spouse, and your spouse can gift 15,000 to their spouse. So that's $60,000 that you are able to gift them without getting the IRS involved at all. No extra paperwork. And if you want to give them more than that, you can fill up that $11.5 million exemption, but you do have to do some more paperwork for that. And to do that, you need to consult your CPA or accountant.
Yeah, you can gift a lot. It just gets, there's some more forms you're going to have to fill out to gift it now instead of when you die. That's a topic for a whole other one. So, okay, gifting.
Yeah. Well, another really popular way to gift, and we got a question specifically from Jennifer and Mike about 529 plans. So for those of you who aren't aware, they are a tax advantaged way to help save for future educational expenses.
And by tax advantage, do you mean what?
Well, I mean that you can put the money in and it's going to grow tax deferred, and the distributions are free as long as you're using it for qualified education expenses.
So you pay the tax on it first, you put it in, it grows essentially tax-free, you get it out tax-free as long as you use it for the right things.
Yep. So if the growth is being tax deferred and not taxed, then the earlier you start a 529 plan, the better. But it's going to be covering things like your tuition, your books and supplies, room and board.
Can you only use it for college?
Actually, until recently you could, but now you can use up to $10,000 a year to pay for K through 12. So if your grandchild or child was in a private school, you could use $1,000 or $10,000 a year towards that. And there are some provisions that allow you to do it for student loan repayments as well.
That's a really good one, to be able to pay for student loans. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a whole, students are getting clobbered with loans. It's a little different. When I went to school, my loan was like at 2 or 3%. It ain't that way anymore. It's like somebody's making a lot of money off these poor kids' student loans. But that's another story.
I know. My husband, whenever we met each other, he was not making anything, for money and paying just the basics. And every month the loan would get higher and higher and higher, even though he was playing. So I know that they're gouging out there. Another benefit is that they have high contribution limits. It's not an annual contribution, but there is a large aggregate amount that you can put into these plans. It varies by state. And for North Carolina, you can look up your individual state, but for North Carolina,
what's the max?
450,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So, once you can get them started, it's pretty flexible, low maintenance. You can set it, forget it. You can have an automatic contribution to it, or you can stop and not contribute anything else. So it's really flexible how you choose to fund it.
What about disadvantages? There's got to be something bad.
There is, Dad. There is. So there are some things to be aware of that you have to navigate. The funds, because they're tax advantage, there's going to be a lot of rules, and they have to be used for education. If you don't use it for education, then not only will you be paying taxes on what comes out, you're also going to be paying a 10% penalty. So similar to your 401k, they're going to hit you if you use it for anything other than education. There are a few exceptions, but it's like death and disability.
But even if your kids don't end up using it because they decide to become TikTok stars or something instead of going to school, you can actually use it for yourself. You can go take some courses yourself and use it for your education. There might even be some loopholes where you can use it to buy computers and all to educate yourself. So,
Yeah, so there are ways to utilize it, and you can change the beneficiaries of it. So maybe one kid decides to become a TikTok star, or they, maybe they decide instead of going to college, they want to become an entrepreneur and start their own business. And you can't, you're limited. You cannot use those funds the same way to fund a new business as you can education.
What about disadvantages?
Well, some other disadvantages are that you are limited. The investment options are limited. So whenever you have a 401k or a 403b or TSP, any kind of company retirement plan, you are limited by the options that they give you. You can't just go out and invest in anything. They give you a list and you've got to check it. So it's going to be the same for a 529. The other thing that's really important to be aware of is that it can, if the student is trying to apply or qualify for financial aid, it can hurt their financial aid eligibility if you do it incorrectly. So if the kid or the parent is the owner, then those assets are going to be it's going to be counted as their assets when they're filling out their FAFSA form. But if the grandparent's the owner, it won't be counted as their asset, but the distributions will be counted as income and could impact.
One of the tricks you play with this is, it counts towards future tuition. So you pay for their tuition like at the third and fourth year when there are no more tuition payments. So you kind of save this money for their last year and pay for it all then and get around the whole thing. So you do have this situation, come see us. We'll help you play this game, if you will. Okay, well, what else can we pass on and talk to about kids and that sort of thing? What other wisdom can we pass on?
What other wisdom? Well, those are some things that you can be cognizant of when you want to pass assets on to them while you're still living, while you can still see the influence it has on their lives. But for many of you, it really matters to you to leave a legacy. You really want to pass this on when you leave. You have assets that you're either prioritizing going to your children or grandchildren, or you've done such a good job saving that that you're not going to be spending this once you look through your income plan. So it's really important to spend time on your estate planning, on your legacy planning.
And that's the words of wills and trusts.
Exactly. That's going to be your wills and your trust. I know many of you have already been in the situation where you've had to settle a parent's estate, and you've seen how difficult that can be. You've seen the tension that it can cause between family members. You've seen the expense that could be going to lawyers. So it's really important that you set that up right now.
By the way, that's going to be our topic next week with our guest speaker, attorney Richard Horgan. So you want to come in for that. So wills and trust.
Absolutely. And when you're leaving money to your children or grandchildren, to your beneficiaries, the best money you can leave them is tax-free money. That's going to be either Roth money or life insurance proceeds. So actually, Jennifer, last week, her question was, is life insurance necessary for somebody 65 or older? And the answer is oftentimes, yes. It can be a very powerful tool for your estate planning.
We have a saying in the industry that you buy life insurance for two reasons: because you love someone more than you love yourself, or you hate taxes. And it is a fantastic tool to pass wealth on tax-free, avoiding tax and probate and everything else. In fact, there's a lot of, if you study it, they're really rich families that they continue to be rich and they pass wealth on, often through big life policies. So that can be a good strategy if, when you look at your income plan, you're going to leave money on. There is a good place for it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's take a quick break. Let's take a quick break and see who else is here. We can't see the we can't see the screen until we go to this. We can't see the comments. So where do we leave off?
Well, I know that Kathleen had asked if we can do this for nieces or nephews, and the answer is yes. But if it's your niece or nephew, you're going to be in the same boat as a grandparent. If the parent or child owns it, they're in kind of a different space. But as you can absolutely fund a 529 plan for your niece or nephew.
Okay, let me just go through. We've had
and then she also asked, or I might have missed up who asked what, but they also wanted to know if a beneficiary lives in a different state, does it matter? And I don't believe so. You may want to check with your specific state because it is, by state, not by the federal government. I do know that in a lot of cases, you can actually get a 529 plan for a state that you're not a resident of. So you may, and there's a lot of, we'd have to go into the weeds to really dig into this, but you could potentially get a 529 plan from another state.
I see we have Martha has joined us, Miranda. Dick Horgan is here as well. Again, he'll be our guest next week. Mary is here.
Paula.
Teresa.
Paula.
Ed,
hey, Heidi.
Ed and Renee. Barry is here. Susan and Barry. And they're drinking Pinot Grigio today. Okay, it's a good day for a white wine. Jeff's here. Matt's here.
Paula wants to know, is education considered trade school and/or apprenticeship? I don't know about apprenticeship, but trade school would be considered. So any higher learning, community college would be considered education expense as well. But I don't know off the top of my head about apprenticeship.
And hi to Teresa, hi to Kathleen. Patrick is here. Good to hear from you. And
Pat, you had some questions about the New York tax rate. New York does a lot of things differently, so I cannot speak to how tax favorable the distributions are there. They do some weird things in the state of New York, so I can't answer that question.
And Paul is here, and Heidi is here. Heidi's a friend of Sam, a good friend, and also it was the one that helped. She's a realtor and helped Sam get her house.
She did actually. If anybody needs a good realtor to either, if they need to buy a house or sell a house, let me know and let me refer you to Heidi because she did an excellent job for me. I've been in my house a year now. And
we have, a year like yesterday. When was it? A year this week.
Yep, a year this week.
A year this week. And we also have Kay is here as well. So we're kind of caught up there. We can go back now to
Yep. Thank you, Dad. So we've been talking about ways that you can be financially helping your children and grandkids. Now let's take a look. We've given the kids a fish. Now let's look at how you can be teaching them how to fish. Many of you know this already because you've lived it, because you're here in retirement successfully. You don't need to have a windfall of cash or a really large salary to accumulate wealth, to become wealthy. For many people, you make more money, your salary increases and they spend it just as fast instead of saving it. So
what's the number one way, the number one principle?
Well, to really accumulate wealth, you have to cultivate good savings habits. So there's three things that you got to instill in your kids. The first, pay yourself first. You know as well as I do that if they get their paychecks and then they pay all their bills and their food and all their expenses before they save, they'll probably never do it. You've got to take the savings out. You've got to pay yourself first, invest in yourself first, and then you can spend what's left.
You always learn to live on what's left, but if you try to save what's left, it's going to be a different story.
I know it seems simple, but it is it is, many of you can attest that it is the key to success. But how do you do this? It sounds simple. What's a good way to make it an action as simple? Automate it. And how do you do that? You have, one of the easy ways is have your employer automatically take it out of your paycheck, as in take it out for your 401k, 403b, TSP, whatever your retirement plan contribution is. They can take it out, you set it and forget it, and it's like it was never even there.
And if they don't have a 401k, they can actually get the bank to do that, withdraw so much from their savings, and they could even put it into a IRA at the bank in the form of a savings account for now, so they can transfer it to something bigger and better in the future.
Yeah. And there are a whole, now that technology has progressed to this point, there is a whole slew of apps and programs out there. You can have apps on your phone that are dedicated to helping you to automate your savings. So that is absolutely important. And the third thing, really is about watching your spending and watching frivolous spending. As you can see from the picture, do you really need that $5 latte? Could that $5 every morning that you spend at Starbucks be better spent towards a vacation, a home, a car, a boat, taking a month off to travel, your kids' college expenses? So it's about not denying yourself everything all the time, but really having them be introspective about what really brings them joy, what really makes them fulfilled, and use that to help them create and drive their goals. And when those goals are clear, when those things you're really working for are clear, whenever you hold up latte to European vacation, it's an easier choice to make because you've already visioned what they're striving for.
Now, Sam, as you've mentioned to me this before, as a millennial, and having come into the industry and kind of changed your career as well, what's one of the key pieces of advice you can give people that are
so for our generation, for me and you and all the people who are already retired, they always said contribute to your 401k, tax deferred, pay the taxes when you retire. Well, I know many of you have already realized that when I retire, I'm not necessarily in a lower tax bracket. I'm trying to maintain a similar standard of living as to when I was working. And so that's always been the customary knowledge. But we think that it's really, when we look at the future, we believe that tax rates could skyrocket.
See, you think of all the money we're printing now to get us out of this COVID mess. Think about what that's going to mean 20 years from now when to taxes.
So every situation is different, but one of the things that I tell my friends all the time is, and that I'm doing, is I am accumulating as much tax-free money as possible. And the ways to do that are Roth IRAs. You can contribute to Roth, max out your Roth every year. If your employer offers a Roth, use it. And then also the cash value of life insurance, because if you don't have a Roth option at work, you can only contribute so much. So there are some really good strategies for people our age to really be building this tax-free nest egg.
Okay.
And Dad, didn't you have, I think that you have like a good way
this hint alone is going to be worth coming to this happy half hour. Okay. If you look at the tax tables, anyone under age of 50 can put up to $6,000 a year into an IRA, or even better, a Roth IRA. The Roth will grow tax-free forevermore. You as a grandparent can gift them up to $15,000 a year. Now, here's how this works. Oops. We have Mary here. Mary is, say, 16 years old, and she just got a job as a lifeguard or something, and she's earning $10,000. She's earning $10,000 a year during the summer. Okay. And we know that she could put 6,000 of that 10 into a Roth if she wanted. But Mary, maybe she's using that 10 to help her put herself through,
Save for
college,
college,
school,
save
or
for
maybe
a
she's buying
car.
lattes with it. But you, as a grandparent, even though she's keeping all this money for herself, you as a grandparent can put that $6,000 in a Roth for her. You can set up a Roth. It doesn't have to be the money she got from her paycheck. As long as she got at least 6,000 in her paycheck, you can put that in a Roth for her. That is a great way to gift the kids money. But this is even better. Let's say you tell her that if she puts $1,000 in here, you'll match it 5-1. You'll put $5,000 in here, and she'll now have $6,000 in her Roth. But now you've taught her the importance of maybe giving up that latte, giving up a little bit of money, paying herself first, leverage it 5-1. And by the way, if she's 16, think about it. In 50 years, when she takes this out, the compound interest on $6,000 is going to be great. I mean, you're the miracle of compounding interest. Here's a place. This is a great way.
And it's going to grow tax-free forevermore.
Tax-free forevermore. This is the way to give money to your grandkids. Okay. So we're almost out of time. I hate to run too far over. Let's see. We have a lot of what we were talking about is from is put out in a book called The Latte Factor. David Bach's a friend of ours. He's also a co-owner of the investment group we work with. And let me just share my screen just briefly. Here I am with David Bach I think it was last fall. He's famous because years ago, he wrote a New York Times bestseller called Smart Women Finish Rich. We've actually given that as a presentation to some of you over this past year or two. And we've got about a dozen of these books. They really are short and designed to give to your grandkids to teach them that they should save the money instead of a latte, and helps frame it and put it together. And the kids really get excited. There's a whole Facebook group. They all get on there and talk about ways to save. And if you email us at info@carolinarp.com and say, I want a book for my grandchild, what I'll probably do is,
or your child,
or yourself, we'll give these away to what we have. I might be able to buy more, but at the very least, I'll do a drawing. And if you're watching this on a rerun, if you're watching it later this week because you couldn't be here, email us at info@carolinarp.com, and we'll put you into. We won't do the final drawing till like a week from now. So another giveaway.
All right, and so the moment y'all have been waiting for is our wine drawing. And in addition to your 2 bottles of wine, you will also get a copy of The Latte Factor. And just one of the things that we love about David Bach is that he is really prioritizing underserved markets. Women are a huge underserved market in the financial industry, as well as the youth. No one's telling the youth what to do. So we love that he's really taking the time to teach these people. All right.
He's also a very fun guy. He's a good guy to sit around the bar with. Trust me.
Yes. So
I also want to say hi to Matt and Cindy, who we may have missed.
So today's winner is going to win not only the 2 bottles of wine, but also a book. And our winner is Lanny.
Okay, Lanny, great.
And Lanny's been here for a lot of the weeks. I know that she's been here. So congratulations. Lisa won last week. Lanny won this week. who's going to win next week. We have all kinds of ways. We want to give away as much wine as possible.
And so, next week we'll have Richard Dick Horgan here. Many of you know him because he's done your trust, and he's going to talk about wills and trust and the latest things there. So that's another question we get a lot about. And if you have any wills or trust questions specifically, you might email them to us. Maybe we can get him to answer them as well.
We had a few even this week that I saw.
Remember, you can have your friends watch this because they're recorded on our Facebook site. And, we'll see you next week and in the weeks to come. This has been a lot of fun. It's so, we've enjoyed it. And although I'm drinking herbal tea, there is a professionally prepared Manhattan waiting for me soon at a outside seating at a restaurant near me. So
cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everybody. See you next week, 4:30 next Thursday with Wills and Trust, Dick Horgan, and have a great week.